Today on Beavertown Outdoors, Christmas present. Hello again, friends. Welcome to another edition of Beavertown Outdoors. I'm John, and I'm in the shop at the beautiful Beavertown compound with the pellet stove going, keeping it warm out here. In fact, I'm going to take this coat off. It's a pretty cold day here at the compound, and well, I went outside for a little bit, loaded up a wood order for a delivery I got tomorrow, and figured that was enough. Do some shop work today. So what I'm going to work on today, so Christmas time, when people know you have a firewood business, they tend to buy you things that are firewood related. And since the person that bought me this, oh man, knows I sharpen my own chains, sometimes get a little frustrated with running them in the vise, and we're having to keep them on the saw the whole time, and maneuvering that around to sharpen if I'm not grinding them on the bench grinder. He came across this and thought it'd be a good thing, so we're going to try it out here. This is the Forester saw chain vise from Forester products, and yeah, so I've seen these before. I think Tony on Tony's Cool Tools did a review of this once upon a time, but figure I would do an unboxing video and check it out. So that's what we're gonna do. All right, so comes in nice compact little box here, and I'll open it up, see what's inside. We got instructions. We got, looks like a mini chainsaw bar, and we got some pieces parts. Box is empty. We're gonna get rid of that. Alright, so let's see what the instructions. It says chain vise piece. Okay. Alright, so we got the instructions. It says to first thing is obviously unwrap everything. Alright, so we got the bar. Looks like the clamps. No clamps. Bolts here, bolts, nuts, and washers. So there's not a whole lot to put together, don't look like. So let's see what we got here. So we got a long piece and a short piece, or actually a wide piece. Looks like this is to line up the holes. Right like that. Try to do this on camera. We've got clamps here, and then looks like we have to do this side as well. Secure each bolt with a washer and nut. Would appear so I guess this is supposed to be on here. It's kind of a strange setup, but so it looks like you got a nut here for some kind of spacing, I guess, and then you put this nut onto here. And I guess that's all there is to it. Oh, I see what it does. Okay, so basically when you tighten it, so you see you got the gap in the rail, and then as you tighten it, it squeezes that. Okay, that makes sense. Right like that. So it says you can either use these two holes to mount this directly onto the bench, which I don't know, or we can put it over here into a standard vise, which at least the first time I think that's what we're gonna try here. So I don't want to reefer down too much, but yeah, so that's put together, and then I'm gonna go get a chain and we'll put it in and see how it works. Okay, so for the first go round, we're gonna try this. What I want to try this on is two different ways. One, using the Dremel, and like I do a lot of times, and then the other way would be to hand file this. See if it holds it well enough to do a hand file. This one ain't too bad. I don't know if you can see this. This is this chain's from the Steel 441, and we'll find the yellow link, which is right there. So we'll start with that. And I guess we just drop this in here like so. And then I guess the trick is figure out where it's going to clamp and how tight this needs to be. So that's holding it. Now let's go. Alright, so it doesn't clamp real much in the center. So that's kind of a bother. So it doesn't move here though. Clamps good there. Just doesn't seem to want to clamp too good in the middle. That's about as tight as I can get it. Like I said, clamps real good here. So, anywho, let's get the Dremel going. See what happens. There's one problem. So this handle here is kind of in my way using the Dremel. And I wonder if I can adjust this. Put it like that. There we go. Let's try it now. That's a little bothersome. That I gotta adjust that every time. So that definitely, so that's kind of slowing it down here. I'm having to move this each time. What I wonder is, I'm going to take this off. Maybe if I turn this around, that'd probably be a smart thing to do. I'm going to try to turn these around, turn this whole thing around. And then flip this chain. This is the next tooth. All right. Yeah, I know that should have been that should have been obvious. That should have been obvious. Well, that improved it a bit. The other hang up I'm having is my vise being turned. Clamp this back down. Okay. So these teeth move, which isn't the end of the world with the Dremel. Hand filing, this isn't going to be, I can tell already, this is not going to be great. Alright, so I'm going to finish cutting these up. I'm not going to make you guys watch every one of these. You can see kind of what the teeth are doing. They move around a little bit. I'm going to finish grind them up, and then we'll come back and we'll do the raker gauges. Alright, so that's all of them. And they're sharp. But this definitely has a flaw with it only clamps, it doesn't clamp this hard enough. These teeth, I mean, I can pull this chain out of here. The only place it's holding it tight is right here by the clamps. That's really not worth anything to me. I'm gonna try to, for the sake of giving it a fair go, I'm gonna try to do the rakers, but I don't think that might work out okay, you know, being you're holding it with the depth gauge and everything, but I don't think hand filing with this is gonna be worth anything at all. But we'll try it. And one other thing with this, you wonder why I was holding on and grinding on these teeth so much. One, the reason I picked this chain to try it out is this chain had been thrown, and it's hit garbage. So it's a chain I'm probably not going to sharpen too many more times, and I don't know if it's even going to be usable once I got it back on here, because it did get thrown off. But this chain was beat up, so I had to grind on it more than normal with the Dremel. That and this stone is pretty well wore out. So, like I said, this just to test this more than anything, this apparatus more than anything. And thus far, I'm not that impressed. But let's get out a file and a raker gauge. If you guys haven't seen this before, this one's kind of wore out, but I use progressive depth gauge tools. This is the Husqvarna one. I do have the updated one that has the roller filing guide, which seems to work okay. The only thing is, just like every other one, they eventually wear out. You know, your file, if you're using a aggressive cutting file, it's going to cut into this. And I got some new ones here. The ones from West Coast Saw. I haven't tried these out yet. Not gonna on this. I figure the next time I do the 592 or whatever, I'll do that. But yeah, so let's get. And I'm sure these are gonna be way off. So far, I mean, it wiggles a little bit, but it's not the end of the world with this. So it doesn't move a whole lot here, doing the depth gauges. And even with it moving a little bit, doing the depth gauges isn't the end of the world. because we're using the depth gauge tool. Try to get as many that I can cut without moving the chain as possible. Maybe in a little better so you can see what I'm doing here. I've showed doing this before, but I figured doesn't hurt to show you again. You just hold that on there, you just run the file across it, and what it does just evens it out with there. Now, like I showed you, my gauge there is getting a little bit on the wore out side, this one, but pretty much all that's going to do is it's going to make it a touch more aggressive, and I'm not going to go too many more filings with this one, just because eventually it's going to make this saw get or make saws get kind of grabby, and that's not always a good thing. You want them to grab a little bit in the wood, but you know, you don't want to be having to press on the saw really, but you don't want it to grab so much that it gets to where it's hard to hold on to. And the reason to use a progressive gauge is if you're grinding, if you're hand filing or you're grinding each tooth, you know, you go by what the tooth needs, not the same number of strokes every time and all those happy things. Yeah, that doesn't work out so well. You want to you sharpen it till the tooth's done, and what happens is you don't have the exact same height of a tooth, so each raker needs to be set to the tooth it corresponds to. Now, a lot of you have probably seen. Everybody's probably familiar with these gauges here. Oregon puts them out here. I don't use them much. You know what, the way these ones work, they go across two teeth. You kind of get the average of them. I don't personally care for that. I like these to where it sets it to each tooth. Plus the Oregon gauges, most of those are 0.25, which is it's a safe number. You know, it's not super aggressive. It's not gonna bite so hard. You know, it's good for like safety chain, things like that. But if you're doing a lot of this and you want stuff to cut fast, you know, this gauge here goes to, I think, 0.3 or 0.03. Yeah, because these are 0.025. This is 0.03, 0.05, I think, for the softwood setting. You know, I'm not going to use that, but you know, that definitely that definitely takes the soft setting. Will take the gauge down quite a bit. I mostly cut oak, ash, maple, all that stuff, and so the hardwood setting is where it's appropriate for that. That's not to say it won't cut pine. I mean, like I said, plenty of people cut everything at .2025. You know, but if you ever find yourself really reefing on your saw, pushing on it hard to try to get the cut that you want, well, that's why. You want to cut fast? Set these down a little deeper. All it does is it lets the tooth take a bigger bite. Which you're still gonna, if you're cutting pine, even with the raker set to hardwood, it's still going to fly through pine. Pine cuts like butter. But if you have these set on the softwood setting and you try to cut hardwood, it's gonna bog your saw, it's gonna grab it. I mean, you can have it to where it'll yank the saw right out of your hands. None of those things are something that you want. So hardwood setting for everything, that's what works for me. If we were out west or somewhere where all you get is softwood, then set them all to the softwood setting and go to town. But here most of what I get is hardwood, so that's what we set it to. Anyway, I'm gonna get the other side done, and then we'll talk about this thing. All right, so I just finished doing the rakers on this, doing the depth gauges, and chain's all done. So, show it to you here. She's sharp. Does grab. You know, teeth are nice and shiny. So it's sharp. It's sharp. I'm not going to try to hand file on this. Not worth it. You know, this was kind of the struggle bus for doing the teeth themselves. It moves too much. It moved with the Dremel. I had to fight it the whole time. Hand filing is not going to be better off doing that on the bar. That's just the way it goes. Where this was useful, I did find, was doing the rakers, doing the depth gauges. You know, there's a lot of times I'll use the grinder, use the bench grinder, the Oregon bench grinder, and you know, do the teeth. And you can set. There's a different wheel you put on, and you set you set two of the depth gauges to a certain level. Then you bring the wheel down so it just touches them, and it can grind every one of them, and you know, it matches each one of them, which works if you ground the chain on the bench grinder where you've done the same. You made every tooth. Basically, you take every tooth and make it the smallest one, you know, right? You take the most damaged one, you grind that one down, and then however short that is, that's where all of them are going to be on the grinder. That's the disadvantage of the bench grinder, is you're going to grind them all the same. Like you can do them every one individually, but you're going to do that, you might as well hand file, or you might as well use the Dremel. Dremel just works when the teeth don't all match, when you don't need the teeth to all match. But that said, I have mixed experiences with using the bench grinder to grind the depth gauges. I kind of like doing the teeth on that, leaving that wheel on there, and just pulling the chain off. And I've done it before, is bring it over to the vise, just drape it across the vise so it's enough to hold it, and do the depth gauges on the vise. That's where I think this, I'm not going to throw this away. I'll still use it for that. It worked just fine for that. It did work better for that than just laying it in the vise. So I do have a use for it. Is this a go-to for hand filing for the no? I'm gonna just stick with, if it's not on the saw, it's going on the bench grinder. You know, so usually I grind or sharpen my chains either while I'm out in the field or immediately after. You know, if I hit something, I stop and fix the chain. If the chain's really bad, then I'll usually put it on the bench grinder anyway. Like I said, this chain was actually it was in the box of ones to go on the bench grinder because it was so beat up. But for the sake of this video, I figured it's a good one. If we ruined it, oh well. It was already pretty well trashed. So, but like I said, it's reasonably sharp. So we got it back to a usable chain. It's probably only got one. Looking at the one tooth here, I mean, these are getting pretty. If you can see the witness line, you know, there's not a whole lot left to that tooth. You know, one good hit on that, it's not gonna be able to be brought back into usable shape. So, but it's still not. It's use it until I can't anymore. So, anyway, guys, that was the Forester saw chain vise. You know, it's usable for one thing. I don't think it's that great for filing teeth. So, but for rakers, it's usable. So, I guess if I had to put a number on it, I'd go a 5 out of 10. Works good for that. So, does half the job well. The other half doesn't do it very well. Maybe I'll give it a 6. It is usable. I did get a sharpened chain out of it, but so 6 out of 10. Anyhow, that's that, and I'm going to call it a day here, do some other things, but if you like what you saw, please like and subscribe, feel free to share, and until next time, everyone, from all of us here at the beautiful Beavertown compound and Beavertown Outdoors, take care of each other, be good, stay safe, and I'm out.